Welcome back, guys. So, this is the second part of Velda's testimony of our Zoom meeting, Zoom call. I don't know what it's called. This last section, if you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. Find it on my channel. It's about the oath that you have to make when you join the Amish church, that promise to God that you won't ever leave and you'll abide by their ordinances. If you missed it, go watch it. This part of it will be more about her experience as she was leaving the church and how Christ found her while she was still in the church, right? So I don't want to sit here and bore you, so let's go ahead and watch that.
My name is Velda Johnson. I'm married to Jason. We've been married for 17 years. We have 3 boys. My oldest is 15. I have a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old. I've also been a homeschool mom for the last 10 years. And I've done some part-time bookkeeping on the side. But I grew up Amish in the northern Indiana, a community in the Old Order Amish Church. And so I was Amish for about 21 years of my life. I left when I was 21. When I left I didn't leave the Amish until after I joined the Amish church. And I didn't get to know the Lord until after I was Amish. After I joined the church.
So yeah, you struggled with depression. You turned 16 and you did the whole Rumspringa thing, and then you joined the Amish church trying to find relief, which you found a little bit, right, but not.
Mm-hmm.
And then you left. Like, I think a lot of when people leave the Amish church, a lot of Amish people think it's because we want cars or TVs or electronics. Was that the case with you?
No.
So why did you leave?
Why did I leave? Well, I just remember, so when I met the Lord, think about the state of mind that I was in. I was in a completely desperate place.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, and I think even during that time, I went to Oak Lawn. I don't know, for those that may not know what that is, it's a facility in northern Indiana where people go that have depression and who are suicidal. And so I went to Oak Lawn for about a week and still didn't find any answers.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing personal against Oak Lawn.
Were they more medical, like psychological?
They did have, they did put me on some medication. So they put me on Prozac and my body couldn't handle it. Like, I freaked out.
But they didn't offer the gospel or anything like that?
No, okay. No. And so, so I was desperate. And after I joined the Amish church, then I started reading my Bible. That was when I started really getting hungry and being drawn to start reading the Bible. And I started reading it. And I just remember thinking, I don't even know what I'm reading. I just didn't have any capacity to understand. I didn't know. Everything I knew about the Bible was what I was taught to believe about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never read it for myself. And so when I started reading it, I just remember crying out kind of in my own heart. I didn't tell anybody this, but I just remember crying out and saying, I just wish I had someone that could help me just kind of make sense of all this. And I'm not kidding. Several weeks later, I met someone and we started talking, and I started sharing and opening up about the depression I was dealing with. And she had been Amish before, but had left. And she was in Bible school. And part of her assignment was to mentor someone and take them through some kind of a 1-year biblical course.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me if I would let her do that for me. And I said, absolutely. I jumped on that. I was just ready.
Wow.
And so she would come once a month and she would pick me up and we would go somewhere where it was quiet, and she would teach me the things about the Bible. And I'll never forget the first time she prayed with me. Like, she prayed to the Lord, like just like you and I are talking. Like, she prayed. I mean, she prayed in Jesus' name, but she prayed. And I was just so struck by that. It struck me to the core, because I thought praying to God was through this little book. And it was all
prayers and
it's great. Yes. And so I just didn't know what to do with that. And so after a year of being discipled by her, I ended up giving my life to the Lord, and I was still Amish.
Oh,
And I remember
didn't know that.
I was still
Wow.
Amish, and I remember getting one of those little tape recorders, the ones where they had and then the headphones that had those black, remember the old headphones?
The old Walkman type of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I got a tape player so that I could listen to worship music.
really?
Yes. And I don't know if I got several tapes from her, but it was back when they had the cassette tapes. It wasn't the CDs, it was the cassette tapes. And so I just remember, I don't know if she gave me some or if I got some from somewhere else, but I would just listen to those when I went to bed at night. That's what I listened to. I fell asleep with worship music. And I just learned through that, I learned how to enter into God's presence and just, He became my lifeline, literally. And so when I started considering, after I went through that time of mentoring with my friend, I began to start having the urge to leave. And I was terrified. I remember being so terrified of that thought. Just that thought terrified me. And so I started, I remember just really being troubled by it, because I knew if I left, I knew what that meant. It meant I was going to lose everything. It meant that I could lose all my friends, and I did. But I recall one morning waking up and just being really troubled. And this was weighing really heavy on my heart, about leaving. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was supposed to get married before I left.
I think I remember.
I think it was like a month before our wedding when I left. And so everything started crumbling. I mean, everything started coming down. When I started considering leaving, everything around me just felt like it was just caving in on me and just crumbling. And it was at that time that the Lord literally became my lifeline. Like, He was what I held on to. He was the hope that I needed at that time. And so one morning when I woke up, I was just struggling like crazy. And I decided I was going to put on my headphones, put on a worship CD, and I was going to go out and go for a walk. And it was dark still. It was before anybody else woke up. And it was dark, and it had just snowed. Like, it was a completely fresh layer of snow. And the only light that I had was like the yard light that we had at our house. I think it was close to the horses' fence, like where
the chicken coop there that was lit.
Yeah, the chicken coop. So as I started walking and I started listening to the worship music, the only thing I can explain was just I had this encounter where I felt the presence of God and experienced it like I had never experienced it ever before.
Wow.
And when I walked back into the house after that experience, I was changed. My mind was made up that I was going to leave. And I knew that there was something had happened. I didn't really know what, but I knew that my heart had changed. And I knew that I had all the confidence in the world. I knew that I was supposed to leave. Like it was something that was very strong. The Lord kind of pushing and gently nudging me in that direction. And so
Do
go
you
ahead.
think all that world kind of you were explaining earlier how that was caving in on you? Do you think that was God or the Lord trying to, or do you think that was something else?
I think that the Lord was preparing my own heart
Ah, okay.
with all of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I had to lose all of that so that I would become willing.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? I had to become willing to obey him because he was calling me to leave.
Yeah.
And I knew it. But I didn't want to because I didn't want to deal with all the persecution or the whatever I was going to experience.
What's the worst part about leaving? Is it the unknown or is it hurting family and friends or losing family and friends?
Gosh, that's a good question. I I think it was both.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously it was very difficult losing all my friends and being estranged from my family for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember that first year. Wow, that year was brutal. I mean, it was just intense. You know, day after day, it was intense. But even in that intensity, the peace of God kept me. And I knew this. Like people thought I was crazy. They just thought I'd lost my mind.
That's usually
So,
what they do.
so even though, you know, I did some crazy things. The depression really messed with me, but I knew that the Lord was changing me on the inside. I knew it, but I couldn't describe it to anyone, or I couldn't even communicate it to anyone because they just thought I was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So you definitely weren't leaving because you wanted electronics or cars.
No, absolutely not.
I kind of figured that. Yeah. So, yeah. And then keep going. I kind of want to hear more if that's
Yeah,
okay.
but see, even when I left, I didn't just up and leave. It wasn't like some irrational decision I made one day and then it took me like a whole year of just kind of weighing things up and down, back and forth. And I felt really torn because I knew if I left, I would weigh my decision. I would say, okay, if I left, I'm entering into an unknown world. And I know that there's going to be uh, multiple opportunities for me if I leave. But if I stayed, the chances are that I would continue to stay depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was really a matter of choosing to live.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to live. I didn't just want to go through the motions. I didn't want to be controlled. I didn't want to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to live. And I really, after having all those encounters with the Lord, it really gave me a hunger to know him more. I wanted more. And I knew that I calculated that into my decision because I knew if I stayed, I wouldn't be able to pursue that freely. I would have to keep it under wraps and I would have to keep it hidden. But I wanted to have the liberty to get to know God, to learn more about him, to become more free to live according to him and his ways. You know what I mean? To learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just felt like leaving was the better option for the things that I was desiring
Mm-hmm.
in terms of spirituality in the Lord.
Would you say you were saved before you left then?
Yes.
Did you say that earlier?
I don't remember if I said that or not,
Okay.
but I was born again. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was definitely saved because I remember having moments when I would sit in my room and I would be reading the Bible and I'd look and I read something and I would compare it to what I was taught to believe. And it was in complete I mean it was it was completely in conflict with each other. And so I was just like, well, I was told this was the truth, but the Bible says this.
Uh-huh.
So which one is true? You know? And the answer is, well, the Bible is.
That's where our final authority, sola scriptura.
Yes.
And
And so it was after that too that I began to, when I left, I think I started desiring to go to a Bible school.
mhm.
That was when I moved to Dallas.
Okay,
That was 4 years after I left.
I see. You stayed around that area for a while, right? After you left.
So I stayed around in the northern Indiana area for about 4 years
Mhm.
after I left the Amish.
I see.
I have a cool story though.
Let's hear it.
So I was looking for a job, and this was actually before I left the Amish. So I was looking for a job because I was right there in that transition, that time of transition from leaving. And I had worked in the factory. I actually worked at Jayco for many years.
Oh, okay.
And then I left the factory and I wanted to get something more low key. So I went up to town, like in Chipshe, and there was a motel there. And I wanted to work at the front desk. So I went and applied for a job there. And they told me that they didn't need me, whatever, when I applied for the job. Well, it was during that time also that I moved out of I moved out of home because things were getting so intense.
Mhm.
And I needed to leave so that I could have more just more time to freely calculate my decision and figure out what I'm going to do and that type of thing. And this little old Amish lady took me in.
Really?
Yes. She sat, I mean, she was a brave little lady. She'd never been married. And I knew that she was going to get a lot of I figured she might get in trouble. And she told me she didn't care. She said, you can come stay with me. She gave me a room and she said, I don't care what you decide to do. This was before I left. And she said, I don't care what you decide to do. Whatever you decide to do, you're welcome here anytime.
Wow.
That was the Lord.
Yeah.
And so that really helped me because then I could even more freely begin to start making my plans to move forward and change my dress, get a car, all that stuff. And so this little old lady took me in. So I was at her house one day, and this lady that worked at the motel came looking for me.
Really?
And she said, yeah, she said, I know we told you that we don't need you, but we really would like for you to come and work for us because apparently they had moved from Pennsylvania and they had become managers of this motel. So they were there 24/7. And she said, my husband and I decided we would like to go out once a week. And we would like for you to come watch the front desk while we go out on a date every week. And I was still Amish at the time. And this couple literally became like just like parents to me, really, and really mentored me too.
They were
the
believers?
ones, huh?
They were believers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And they were the ones that told me about the Bible school in Dallas. And so they actually gave me like one of those tapes to listen to the worship music. And I just loved it because, I mean, I experienced the presence of God. That's what I was wanting, and I had visited several other Bible colleges that were conservative, and I couldn't feel it. It just wasn't, I knew I wasn't supposed to go there. But this Bible school, I just really believed that something was in it. Like it was something about it. And I decided I was going to pursue it. And I did. And so I visited the college, the school, I mean, several months before moving down here to go to school. And it was just, I mean, I could see God's hand orchestrating every detail and every step along the way. And what's really weird is that when I moved to Dallas, that couple at that motel that I worked for, they moved back to Pennsylvania.
What?
So, yes, I couldn't believe it. It was almost as though they moved to Indiana from Pennsylvania. I worked for them for several years, and then they had completed their mission and moved back home. Because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have been able to, I really don't think I would have come down here.
That sounds like the Lord's handiwork for sure.
Totally.
It's amazing. Whatever happened to the little Amish lady?
She died several years ago.
I see.
But she was the sweetest little lady. I am forever grateful to her. I'm telling you, she was like an angel of the Lord to me.
That's amazing. Because a lot of people would get in trouble for doing that.
Oh yeah.
So,
but she didn't care, But she, it was really kind of cool because I got to see her several months before she died. So I got to say goodbye to her. And I didn't know that there was anything wrong. I think she died of a heart attack.
Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time doing that. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you give Velda a shout out in the comments. She is working on a book, which I can't wait to read. I'm excited for that, with tons of more of her testimony in it. She also has a Facebook group called Identifying Cults and Evil Agendas. So go check that out. There's tons of great stuff on there when it comes to these cult churches, when it comes to how Satan is deceiving all these people. So go check it out, Identifying Cults and Evil Agendas, and be ready for her book. I'm excited. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.